So, as I told you before, I love speakers that return to talk with us. It's one of the best things when you try to build a community is when one of the members of the community enjoyed so much that says, I want to go again there. So, my friend, this is your time.
Thank you, sir. That's not my...
The skill doesn't have a pocket.
We got pockets. We got pockets.
Okay.
I'm good. I got alcohol. I'm happy bunny.
What is this not a...
No. Oh, okay, you can put it in there.
Yes, I will.
Plug in.
Hang on.
Thank you very much.
I got 3 hands. I'm one down bloody hand though. Ah.
Dude.
All in consent.
Oh, hi. All right, what am I doing?
Just
View.
present them.
No, fucking send the fucking slides.
You got some whiskey right there.
All right.
You good? This is
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Have fun.
Can we go? How long am I talking? Oh, sweet, 30 minutes. Awesome. Hang on. This has got to go in a pocket. It's going to drive me bloody nuts. Everybody good so far?
Forgot to plug the thing. Is it working?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. There we go.
All right.
All right. Actually, I actually have no bloody clue how many slides we have. We have quite a few slides. Anyway, so we are going to have some fun with trains. There's some logic for having fun with trains. Part of the reason, obviously, is because I'm not allowed to hack planes anymore. So, part of the other reason for hacking trains is they're actually quite fun and they're quite easy to hack. Presentations, for those of you that do presentations, tend to realize these damn things actually can take a long time to put together if they're done properly without too many spelling mistakes. I'm going to do this, otherwise it's going to drive me nutters. All right, so as this one says, yeah, this took longer to put together than the ruddy thing actually takes to hack the damn things. So, one, because I can't break the stupid things. Here's the other logic and reason for doing this. In the US, for good or for bad, about 2,000 collisions a year. Woo.
Step back.
Why?
Because.
Well, I don't want to step back. Where's it coming from?
It's the monitor. No, it's the
That's
monitor.
your next research.
Look up. Look up.
Somebody can hack this later. All right. Drink.
You need some help? What's
No,
that?
I'm good. I've got rowdy ones in the front. We're not having enough alcohol. All right,
I
we
can
digress.
throw some stuff at them.
Would you? I'll put penises on the screen. I'm walking dead. All right, so why trains? Trains, at least in the US, have been around, 100-ish or so good years. Some of the technology hasn't really changed that much. And quite honestly, the rail industry has quite a lot of issues, and I don't think they realize how many they do have. Problem is the same collective that realizes they had issues don't actually want to do very much with the stupid things. So, really, why the trains? Here's the logic. Cast your minds back to the times you were at school. How many of us were tortured? Train A starts from this station. Train fucking B starts from somewhere else. Where do they meet? I don't care. Now they're not going to meet. We're going to crash the buggers wherever the hell we feel like it. Now, in the UK, we had these safety videos. I'm assuming you probably have the same things, give or take a little bit. This is what they showed us as kids. Don't play near the train tracks. Don't go into the train tunnel during a school day, otherwise Johnny's going to end up covered in blood. As a 10, 9, 8-year-old, whatever the hell it was, this was tormenting. So yeah, no, revenge. The other logic for going after the transportation industry is because they still carry kind of everything that we want. You look at the food supplies. You look at the alcohol supplies. You look at the various other things that they carry. US loves its GMO. It loves its corn. It puts it in absolutely freaking everything. And for those of us that don't touch laptops, don't necessarily like that. So what can we do about it? Which is where we turn around and said, okay, let's see what we can do. And obviously the fun thing is per the earlier talks when we talked about everything old is now everything new, there's some really interesting stuff we'll hit on this one. Now, at this point in time, I was going to put another slide up. And you can guess what slide would have come next. But I didn't. No, I want to get out of here alive. So, we ended up doing a bunch of research last year, quite a lot of research on behalf of a couple of organizations. Unfortunately, quite a lot of that research hasn't been actioned upon. I can't stand up here and say, hey, this is all the shit that we did, because I'll get yelled at and all sorts of subpoenas and nasty stuff. But what we did do instead is we took a small dedicated team of us, including a good friend of mine, Jesse, who is about yay taller than me, yay wider than me, and wears overalls all the time. And we spent 48 hours breaking into trains. This talk is basically what the hell can we do in 48 hours with that toolkit. The toolkit consisting of 200 foot of Cat5 cable. There's a reason it's a long distance of Cat5 cable. A whole bunch of connectors, a whole bunch of access, and a whole bunch of bottles of single malt. Now, like anything you research, you have to break it down into the component parts. If a couple of people have come up and gone, hey, how do you think about new things you want to break into? Well, I sit there and go, what is of interest? What do I want to look at? If you break your project down into its component parts, I don't care if you take a bloody vacuum cleaner to pieces that's got IoT enabled, you still have the components. When you come to the rail industry, we broke everything down. We broke the rail cars down. We broke the line side structures down. Sometimes it's hard to hack something that's moving, running with a laptop and trying to do a reverse engineer. Not fun. Get the bugger when it's not moving quite as fast. We looked at the dispatch system. So instead of looking at endpoints, you look at the centralized systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the other thing that we decided while we were doing this is obviously trains carry lots of fun stuff. They carry dead animal, they carry sauces, they carry combustible materials, and they carry all sorts. Well, like, bugger it, let's have a barbecue. So we figured out where the food was. In California, there's a wine train, an entire train filled full of wine. Everybody needs their own wine train. We got the seating, we got the cover fire was because we figured we were going to go after the nuclear trains. And they tend to protect them, so we figured we need cover fire. So we actually went after the trains that transport all the military. Those aren't up here because I'll probably get yelled at for showing those. Actually, they might be. And then we went to the rail industry and we're like, oh, you have problems. They're like, oh, no, we're perfectly okay. We use proprietary software, hardware, and protocols. And I'm like, great. So nobody's touched the shit in 20 years. And when they're like, oh, we've got proprietary cables. And I'm like, oh, the ones I can buy on eBay? And they're like, oh, well, you have to pay money for those. And I'm like, yes, we paid money. Trust us, we have these ones. They're proprietary hard software, which is based, I don't even think it was Windows XP in a couple of cases. So their excuses were fun, and they were fun to ignore. So then we were like, okay, you have to find your train. Obviously, with a building, it doesn't move very often, unless you're in California, Italy, Pacific Rim, all those good places. But with trains, the buggers keep moving. So we sat there and went, okay, they must track them, and if they can track them, so can we. So we did. We looked at the four main organizations, well, a couple of organizations. Allcom does a whole bunch of satellite communication systems with these things. Now, the nice thing about Allcom is they were like, oh, nobody's ever going to want to look at our trains, which is why if you do a SQL injection attack, or you look at their Ajax page on the TMS system, you can actually basically get in with default credentials. We'll go through that in a second. Look at Transcore, which does all the RFID. So when the trains move, they obviously come to like central locations where they move all the cars around and they go from regional to local to state and all these other good things. Well, the rail cars are really nice because they have all these bloody trains everywhere. As it moves in and out of the rail car, they're moving RFID tags around. So the same attacks that you've been able to do for the last, how many years on RFID? 5, 10-ish. You can do the same thing on these. So again, old becomes new. For cooking the barbecue, we decided we needed Transcom. Part of the reason for that one is they move the petroleum around, they move ammonium around, they move all the nice high explosive stuff around using a subset of the OrbCom system. Unfortunately, in this case, subset means a separate directory on the same server. Then we go after the rail yard itself. This is a rail yard. This is basically making friends with the rail car and the rail yard. Each one of these, this was the SQL attack, and this was basically getting into the AI reader. This was the software that we used. You could actually attack the website, get into the website, take the credentials for that, port them into this account, and then this account had full access into all their web database. They were very nice. They actually broke their client database down into colored little things. And in theory, I should only ever be able to see the red ones, which are mine. But I can see the red ones and the yellow ones and the green ones and the blue ones and the pink ones and everybody else's. Which means me wanting my barbecue, if I just want an entire dead animal train, I can now start to look at all of these, look at the manifests off of these, and figure out exactly who's this who. So at this point in time, we decided to make a couple of our own transcall systems. So which means we could now track our trains when we wanted them. We manipulated the code. We now knew where our rail cars were and when we wanted them. Add into the top of that, you can mess with something that's UK and European side, which is intermodal. The whole concept of moving it from a shipping container to basically your plate or your doorstep. All of the pieces and parts along the way are starting to become more and more interconnected. From when the container ship comes into the yard and you have the crane moves it off and it drops it onto the train and it goes into the center and it ends up on a truck or a lorry. What do you call them? Are they trucks or lorries in this country? It's a bloody lorry. Look, we've not even looked at the stupid things. Actually, is Volvo here? Can we just giggle in a second? So the DOT stations, the way stations, you get the idea. The whole thing is very, very interconnected. This is some of the work that we're doing at the moment, is to look at basically how we can move our stuff off the trains and move it around. So the other nice thing with locomotives, as well as having the RFID, they've got some nice GPS technology in them, because the guys that own the damn things actually want to know where they are. So do we. We also need to be able to move them to where we want them to rather than where they want them to, at which point you basically start getting into something called Reefer fence. You can build your own containment zone. So what happens is, as the locomotive goes into our containment zone, and this is in Arvada, my neck of the woods. A good friend of mine lives about here, and this is where the railway is. So we were going to stack up all the locomotives outside his house. Again, it's Jesse. He's bigger and wider, and he owns more guns than I do. We didn't necessarily do this. But what you're capable of doing at this point in time, and we'll get into the hows and whys, is instead of using their Reefer fence, you can now get into the software. Again, very easy, very accessible, has more bloody attack vectors than you care to want to think of on these things, and also has default credentials if you really want to get into it. You can start looking at the various different rail companies and going, okay, I will put a Reefer fence around my own location. So as a train comes in, the GPS architecture reads it onto basically the WABCO and various other systems and says, hi, now it's inside this containment zone, these are the actions it will do. In which case, we decided we wanted to stop it at Moffat Tunnel, for which we need trains and locomotives. Now, I promise I'm going to go relatively easy on GE, because I had a nice conversation with somebody on Monday who just started there, who hopefully is going to fix some of the bloody problems we've had for the rest of the week. However, at the time that we put this together, GE's attitude was, we don't care. So I'm like, okay, it'll go up on a screen somewhere. So they use QNX. QNX has more freaking vulnerabilities than I care to think of. On this kind of side, we basically looked at the attack vectors. So again, break your target down. The engine, thermal, diagnostic data feeds, you get the idea. As you look at the system, you have multiple different ways to get to it. You can get to the engine on the locomotive. You can get to the control interfaces on the locomotive. You can get to the system architectures on the locomotive. And because it's GE and because a lot of the organizations are doing it, they are pulling data off as well, which means you can pull the same data off. The data feeds are coming off sometimes on wireless, sometimes on the GPS signals. You just have to do the research on which train you want to do it. In this case, they're pulling off about 150,000 data points per minute. Engine temperature, system temperature, wear on the wheels, wear on the control faces, wear on the systems, all with nice GPS tracks, all with nice various different things on them. The nice thing about it is none of it's encrypted. Go through a couple of different types of locomotives. Some of the ones we hear. I gave a version of this briefing over in the UK, and somebody was like, well, no, you can't do that. Now, GE had taken some of their nice trains and sold them to the Chinese. And I'm like, well, I won't break one in the US because I'll get yelled at. But I know where they are in China because we did the research in China, and if I basically am able to get to the GPS system, which had a local IP address, and I telnet into the damn thing, I get a nice interface. So if anybody wants to stop China's trains, especially the GE ones, that's the user ID and password, and that's end up what you're getting. Feel free to stop them whenever you feel like. Same thing we can do, I think that's the Alcoa slide, isn't it? Yeah, Alcoa slide. If you start looking at hacking as a way of doing something, whether you're researching for an organization or privately, it's very easy to pull up a lot of this data through simple searching. This is where you do your own research. Google can actually be a friend at times. Nice thing about these ones, features, parameters, range of passwords, easy access, and various other nice fun things. We did the same thing with the Powerhall in the UK. These were a little harder. They'd actually changed them from the default of GE to GE to admin, the devious bastards. We did find a couple of the trains, user ID, monitor, password, telnet. They were even sneakier. Unfortunately, they had it in the literature, which they'd posted on an internet portal. Yeah, not smart, not great. Now, you don't actually have to get one of these things in motion, which is some of the fun stuff about it. But you also have a whole load of these other things that you can get to. These are just a couple of the other providers of different train systems. I haven't put it out here because we've got 15 minutes left, and I'm going to use the whole time up doing other things. So we have railcars, we have the locomotives. We obviously now need signals. Because it's fun stopping it, but it's even more fun if you can keep the train moving when the operator is sitting there going, I'm pressing the frickin' brake. Now, again, if we go back to the research that we did and we go back to the work that we tried doing with some of these guys, we're like, you have a problem. And they're like, oh, no, we have no problems. Everything that we have is proprietary. It is until you look at frickin' YouTube where they have all of the videos with the default passwords online. And they're like, oh, that shouldn't be there. No shit, Sherlock. So, Wabtec, Australia, Logic, Motorola Power, it's all over the globe. If you really want to have some fun, do some research on these ones. So we did have possibly a little bit of fun. We took 140 miles of railroad and we made a spreadsheet. Every single one of those is a basically way station. So they have these nice little metal boxes about everywhere from a mile to 3 miles apart from each other. And then where the road crosses and they have signals and crazy shit like that, they put one of these around there as well. The nice thing about these is you actually have the nice IP address of the damn thing, the internal IP address. If you really have to get into the checksum, in other words, oh my gosh, the code is signed. Well, yeah, that's how you unsign it, and that's how you re-sign your own code. Then we went after the signals. User IDs, passwords, accounts, access controls, system controls, global signaling systems, comms equipment. And if you really want to get fun, here's an entire set of folders that was sitting on an FTP server. The interesting one that we wanted was this one here, Electrologics. Those are in almost every single little metal box. And they control the signals. And as the train moves up to one of these, it asks the question, hey, am I okay to go forward? And the Electrologics goes, well, absolutely, there's nothing in front of me. Please carry on going. And dispatch goes, absolutely, there's nothing on the signal. Please keep going to the next one. So we're like, well, if we want to move our train and we want to keep it going, we have to tell all of these ones along the 140-mile line that it's fine to keep moving. So we went after the Electrologic systems. We went after the switching systems and the architectures. These are all off the interwebs. We didn't have to break much. We did, however, have to use lockpicks once or twice. The one on the left, very breakable. The one on the right, a little bit head scratching. And we found some of these buggers, which are encased in glass and have vacuum tubes. We tiptoed away from those ones. Like that for a game of soldiers. Now, remember the earlier conversation? Everything is old and everything is new. You'll notice one of those. Like, oh no, how do I plug into it? Well, quite easily. Unplug that. Yeah. Now, in some certain circumstances, if you unplug this and plug your own 200 foot of Ethernet cable in, because you want to hide in the bushes and not be sat right next to the stupid thing, it won't give you an IP address. They've disabled DHCP. But if you are sneaky and start Wireshark up and go, tell me what is running across the cable, it goes, hi, all of this shit is running across the cable. At which point you're like, I'll have my own IP address, thank you very much. You remember the star networks from like years ago, things you should never build? Railroad built star networks. Hit one, then you can hit every other one on the entire rail network. So this was in our general neck of the woods. If anybody really wants to know exactly where that is basically about 3 miles from the house. 4 miles from the house? 5 miles? It's about 200 yards from Jesse's cable, which is why we had about 200 yards of Cat5 cable. Yeah. You get the idea. Oh, look, Cisco. And it's a ruggedized one. And it has defaults in place. Take your pick. I think they're on a spreadsheet somewhere. Now, there are some who maybe are in the which one is mine? This one's mine now. They are. No. Yeah, maybe, actually, yeah. You know what? Hang on. I got what? I'm going to, hang on. Please hold. Here, I'll leave it there for a second. So, Electrologics is actually smart. We'll give them some credit. GE actually has some brains as well. We will give them some credit. Because what they've done, oh, you're awesome. Thank you very, very much. I'm not even going to ask what the hell it is. Oh, it's mine. They're actually smart. They have thought ahead and gone, some bastard's going to plug in and try to affect all the signals. We're going to put a man not present button. So in other words, the whole concept is plug into the cable with your laptop, press the man not present button when requested, and then you're allowed access. If you're not present, you obviously can't press the stupid button. However, when you put the stupid patent online and you have processor 1, processor 2 with shared memory for the bit of the network I can get to from the internet and the bit of the network that I shouldn't be able to get to because it's a man not present button, and you share everything across it, all you have to do is flood one, overflow the stupid thing, buffer attack the other one, and drop a processor. You basically denial of service it, and it goes, oh shit, what should I do? I'll make a man present button, which is what it did. So we flooded the whole 140 miles worth of railway line, and we were able to do pretty much whatever we wanted. We could raise signals up and down whenever we wanted. We could turn all the lights red or all the lights green. And this was a nice way that we actually decided to say, hey, this is how we were able to do it. It's basically a man-in-the-middle attack at both the application layer and the network layer at the same time. I will happily talk about it afterwards. Per Chris's comment earlier, slides are just for fun and questions. Afterwards is for having fun and not getting recorded. Anyway, general concept, this is what happens. So, this is convoluted and a pain in the ass to do. It's fun to do, but it's a pain in the ass. It'd be much simpler if we just hacked the damn back office. Why would it be much simpler? Because, well, that's the user ID, and that's the damn password. And I could dispatch my own trains wherever the hell I wanted. If we decided to take a slightly different approach and go to talk to the engineers who are actually sitting there legitimately in front of the damn thing, well, we can just take the user ID and password off of their damn computer. So, at this point, potentially, we've got the locomotive, we've got the train, we've got everything else, we've got all some other stuff. We haven't really kind of broken much. So when we were out in the UK, we decided to basically, well, we hacked a security company because it was fun. There was another company there who, I won't say their name, but you can read it on the slide, that said, we look after all the train systems. And I'm like, oh, you do? Yes, you do look after several train systems. And so this is what we did to them. The northern line, we had the cables and the antennas because they ran defaults. Their central line, basically, we got into the no distance fanned era. The trains to the waysides, we got to their locomotive engines, net track, OT. You get the idea. Security company, not being secure. Okay. And there's some more stuff about them. You get the idea. Educate the bloody clients. The excuse to them, to some degree, was, well, we were doing what our clients told us. Taser the freaking client until they build something securely, please. Okay, squirrel moment over. So let's put it all together. In America, there's a really cool tunnel called Moffett Tunnel. It's actually a really nice, like, east-west tunnel, kind of cool, got some really nice scenery around it, really good place to crash some trains and have a barbecue. So, yeah, it's for the Americans, that's for the English. Oh, shit, we forgot people. So we hacked people. Well, actually, we didn't hack people. We did that, was that yesterday? Hacked people yesterday. All right, we hacked the networks to hack the people to hack the systems. So this is Amtrak. This hasn't been released yet, but if you should find yourself on an Amtrak train, they're running shell shock on their public wireless network. Their shell shock attack will actually get you into the back end of the wireless network, which for some ass-about-face, back-around reason, they've managed to duplicate exactly what the airlines have done and plug the really important network where the engine sits into the really stupid network, which is where all the people sit. That tells you exactly where they are. So I had another friend called up and says, hey, guess what I'm doing? I'm sitting on a train. I giggled because I was sitting on an airplane at the time. So we made friends with the train. We have a video of this thing with an accelerometer speeding up and slowing down the Amtrak train. Several ways to crash trains. What do we got? 5 minutes left. I mean, this isn't necessarily the end game we want, but this is a potential end game that is possible given some interesting scenarios. This is about what we think about the whole thing. Please notice no penises. Now let's take a little bit of an introspective move for the minute. What's up? What, do you want to see under? Is that what you're after? Upskirt. Upskirt.
I haven't seen a single one yet.
I am not going to display the man vegetables on stage. I would like to come back next year without getting yelled at. I managed to walk through customs with 48 bottles of single malt and not get fondled. Yeah. Good point. So I kind of want to take a step back for a second. I've got 4 minutes and change. Arguably, and I'm happy to debate this afterwards, I have a horrible feeling we've kind of failed. And it's not a good feeling, to be perfectly honest. We've been so focused on red teaming, on unbreaking things, and on just taking things to pieces. It is fun, don't get me wrong. But I don't feel like we've collaborated as well as we possibly could. Now, it might be our fault, it might be the other team's fault, I don't know. But I don't feel like we've collaborated well enough. We're in this for some good reasons, mostly to protect the very charges which bring us into an organization. I feel we could do a better job of it. We keep blaming people. We blame the end users. I'll be the first one to admit I want to taser users on a regular basis. Some of them actually do deserve it. The same thing with the executives. But we need to do a better job of not blaming them, but bringing them in. I feel that this is kind of where we spent a lot of time on the whole red versus blue. Red is cool, don't get me wrong. We can leap over walls with our laptops, we can break anything, anytime, we can take any of the data you want, we can do all sorts of amazingly good things. But with the wave of technology that's coming down the line, we kind of have to change this mindset. Because kind of blue has to win. We have to get to that mentality that blue has got to win more. And as red, we have to do a better job of helping. Poor blue team guys are throwing up their hands and going, how the hell do we fix everything we have, let alone everything else that's being put into us? And then we add the vendors. Now, this is a little blunt, and quite honestly, I don't care to some degree. There are some really good vendors out there that want to do a lot of good stuff. But man, there are some which represent that every single time you've had a breach, it's like, oh, we can sell all sorts of shit that's not going to fix a damn thing. It's another blinky light in another rack that doesn't do a job. That gets a little frustrating. So what do we need to do? Well, we kind of need a better blue team playbook. Coordinate better, collaborate better, spend a little bit more time researching, spend a little bit more time working with each other, spend a little bit more time not focusing on the next bloody, shiny thing that gets sold to us. That's your guys' jobs. When the vendor comes in and goes, I've got a purple-lighted next-generation firewall from hell, taser the damn person. Please. Here's the logic. This is just some of the stuff that's coming down the line and is down the line and is going even further. I got a low battery memory for 1 minute. Hide it. I'm okay. Well, we know that-ish. This is some of the stuff that's coming down the line. Did a talk on fintech, financial technology sector. I think of the several hundred companies and $3.5 billion that's been invested, 65% of the companies admitted they haven't looked at security. It's ridiculous. We obviously know about the IoT, the industrial control systems. We just had a brief conversation. The vehicles, and then the crazy stuff we were talking about yesterday, the nanotechnology, hacking humans directly. We have a lot to do. Kind of feel like we need to change the mindset a little. With that being said, a huge thank you to everybody here. A massive, yes, all of you. A massive thank you to everybody besides Taylor. Give them a freaking hug. If it's got a red shirt, hug it.